Hey guys, it's the Diesel Queen. Welcome to my Overhauled podcast. I have to make an apology to you guys. My first few podcasts were a little screwed up. Long story short, it had to be kind of cropped down a little bit because I am technologically challenged. Back to how I am a heavy equipment mechanic, not a professional YouTuber or a podcaster. So please bear with my fuck ups and enjoy these podcasts. Again, I apologize. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic trying to make podcasts, so bear with me. Hey guys, this is the Diesel Queen here on my new podcast, Overhauled, with the Diesel Queen. I am here today on episode 1 with Tyler, who is the owner of Diesel Laptops. Diesel Laptops is the company that is partnering with me to be able to bring you this podcast. Today, in this episode, I'm going to be covering with him why we're doing this podcast, what you guys can expect in the future episodes, and what is the driving force behind us partnering up to be able to do this podcast. So, I hope you guys like it. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Let's get it. So, Tyler, what's your goals with this podcast? Because I know we talked about you have a lot of ambitions and goals and people you want to reach with this podcast.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting to me is I've been an industry guy forever, right? So, I mean, I was a service manager, a service writer, my family owned truck dealerships. Like, I've been around this space forever. And the one thing I've noticed is every year it is more and more difficult to get technicians. All the, we call them the gray hair, no hair. And I guess I'm starting to join that gray hair club. I have been since high school. But, those people are retiring. And as that's happening and we're aging out this workforce, on the flip side, the supply side, we have less and less diesel technicians entering the field every single year. And we have less technical colleges, bringing in new students. And when I was a service manager, I actually felt we were getting overtrained diesel technicians that were having the wrong perception of what they were walking into. They thought they'd come in day one overhauling engines because that's what they were doing in their diesel tech classes. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think the big pivot point for me was earlier this year when we had our virtual diesel expo and we had Mike Rowe on there. And everyone knows who Mike Rowe is, right?
Oh,
yeah, everyone knows Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs guy. Right? I love Mike Rowe. I told him I had a man crush on him. I got weird there for a little bit.
I've seen that LinkedIn post.
Yeah, I got a little weird, but he has it absolutely right. And what I've come to realize is I have zero confidence in the industry leaders in the space that we're in because they've been talking about the same thing for 20 years since I've been in this. We're gonna go get high school kids and convince them to be diesel techs. We're going to go make a video game and show how cool diesel tech is, and then they'll want to be diesel techs. Like, all this craziness. And every time I'm like, you guys have no clue what's going on or what it takes. And in my opinion, what it takes is more Mike Rowe's. It takes more people sharing the stories and sharing the journeys. And I had the chance to interview you about a year and a half ago, right? You came on. Yeah, you came on with Miranda. Yeah, and that was great. And I was like, that's what the industry needs. It needs people sharing the stories. It needs people telling them what this profession is like and all the benefits that come with it. Because frankly, college has been pushed down so many people's throats for so many years. And
it was pushed down mine.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at the stats before this. 40% of people that start college don't finish. Right?
Yeah.
And college is not, these are the 4-year degrees. College is not cheap. There's about $1.8 trillion in student loan debt and growing every year. So we have a problem getting worse and worse and worse. So I was like, you know what? It's time for somebody to do something about it that hasn't been done before. And this is the new world. And what it's going to take is people that have social media savvy, people that can talk the talk, people that aren't afraid to be on camera and talk about our industry. That's really where it starts. And it starts with the groundswell. So that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to the Diesel Queen and I'm going to convince her we should do a podcast together. And I think there's a lot of cool things we can do together. So I'm really excited about this.
So I was also one of the kids that had college forced down my throat. The ACT tests were a big deal that, my parents made a big deal of. And, I was pushed and pushed and pushed to go to college. And I originally wanted to go to college for horse training. When I was younger, I wanted to be an astronomer. That didn't happen. So I changed my dreams over to horse training. And then
I've always been around equipment, especially, I've always had a thing for diesels. My dad had a 2002 Dodge Cummins that I absolutely loved, 2001. And he had logging equipment that I was around my whole life, but it never really hit me like that's something I want to do until I started hanging out with the kids that actually went to Wyotech. And we'd hang out in their storage units and turn wrenches, and I just had a passion for it. And that's what I wanted to do. And I decided, well, maybe I could go to a community college and do horse training and diesel mechanics, and then also have the community college thing. And finally, I just decided, against my parents' original wishes, which is whatever, I decided to only go to Wyotech. No community college, nothing. Yeah. And it was, that's what I decided, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. And that was probably the best decision I ever made. Not going to a community college and just strictly going to a trade school where that's all you do for 8.5 hours a day. If you're in engines phase, that's all you do is learn engines for 8.5 hours. You have no English classes, you have no math classes, which after working in this industry might have benefited some people, but it was good for me. There's a lot of people that think, oh, trade schools are a waste. I can learn all that as an apprentice, and yeah, you can. But for somebody like me that was lucky to change their own oil before they started Wyotech, that was a great program for me. I didn't know. I had basic understanding because I took automotive class in high school and welding classes. So I had a basic understanding of it, but I didn't know exactly what made a diesel engine run. I didn't know what was inside a transmission. I didn't know any of that. Refrigeration, electrical diagnostics, hydraulics, hydrostatics. I had no idea. So for me, it was great. And I just fell in love with it even more. But what I think you and I have talked about too is I had the automotive classes in high school. In my high school, it was actually required that you had to take at least 1 year of automotive and then 1 year of either welding or woodworking. You had to. That was a requirement to graduate. So, you'd have the little gothic emo chick in your welding class running beads on an arc welder. Yeah. And she's pretty damn good, and she liked it. But that type of person would have never she would have never done that if it wasn't a requirement. Yeah. Never.
So I have, my kids are 9 and 11, right? And they do well in school and all that. But it's like I'm trying to find like real life skill stuff for them to learn outside of school, and they come home like learn about the stock market, learn about coding, learn about welding, learn about building things out of wood, right? Doing something besides more math or whatever. Like you get that at school. And no, that was great learning about your educational background. I mean, mine was somewhat similar. I thought I had to go to school, and I had to go to the best school. That's what I was told for 18 years of my life. And I applied for the best schools. I got accepted. And my dad had to go get a second mortgage on his house to afford to put me through my first couple of years of college.
That's insane.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yep. So I'm in my first 2 years, and they promptly kicked me out of school. I literally blew through $100,000 of my dad's money and had nothing to show for it after 2 years. And it was like, man, I suck at life. This is the worst thing that happened to me. And I can tell people now, looking back on it, because where I'm at today, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me in that regard. Yep. And it sounds like what you found at a much younger age than I did is I have a passion about something. I love doing this. And that's what you said when you got a chance to get a wrench in your hand and start digging it. You're like, this is some really cool shit. I love doing this kind of work.
It took a while. Like it took some time to get the acceptance of this is going to be my career. And my mom and stepdad are probably going to kill me for this. But, they weren't aware when I first started this, and it's not their fault. I love them. They are very supportive of me now, but they weren't aware of, the amount of money you can make in that industry, because 20 years ago you were making shit. Yep. It was not a great career to be in. It was a career that, flunkies out of college took because they didn't have anything else, and that was a vision that everybody had about it. And, when I started my first job in Denver, Colorado at $17 an hour, right out, I had a job before I even left Wyotech. Before I even graduated, I had a job from their career fair. And I started at $17 an hour, and I flew through pay raises.
Yep.
The entire 7 years I worked in the industry. And it's, now I make more than my mom. And, when sometimes when she gets pay raises, we're kind of like neck and neck, but it's like a little friendly competition sometimes. But, my mom has a very good career. She works for the state of Wyoming, and, she's put in a lot of hard work into her career. And it's something that I'm proud of, to be able to show that, hey, my career as a diesel technician that used to be viewed as a low-level job has given me the ability to own houses, own land, make my bills, things like that people don't usually associate with trade jobs.
Yeah. And I mean, you really, that's a skill too, right? And anything with a skill like that, like literally you never have to worry about having a job a day in your life. Because say this doesn't work out at diesel, like I guarantee you, and I told you this when I was trying to convince you to come work for me, I'm like, it doesn't work out. I promise you, you can go back immediately and get a job, right, with somebody else, and probably for more money than when you left, because that's just the way our industry works a lot of times. So your parents, it sounds like your mom or maybe whoever's a little disappointed at first when you went a different path. Have they changed your tune a little bit now, or are they still like, you should go back for your degree? Where are they at now?
No, it's not just my mom and my stepdad. There's a lot of stigma that you need at least a 2-year degree to make it anywhere. Yeah. And for a while there, my mom was right. There's a lot of jobs out there, a lot that required at least a 2-year degree. Yeah. So she was trying to look out for me. I was just stubborn and like, I'm going to do my own fucking thing, because as my mom will tell you, I was a little hellion in my teenage years. But it turns out the risk that I took was worth it. And my mom is a huge supporter of me now, and she's one of my biggest fans that I have. So it's kind of, the tides have changed a little bit, but
yeah. So you're popular on Instagram, right? You got followers, a lot of comments and things. Do you get comments from people that are younger, male, female, interested in this career and starting to ask questions? Do those ever come up in your social media stuff?
Oh yeah. And unfortunately, I have so many, between TikTok and Instagram, I have 1 million followers on those platforms alone. TikTok has 800 some thousand, and Instagram is 221,000, and it is very hard to keep up with messages. I get 200 message requests a day, and I used to be better about replying to them or reading them, but I do get a lot of younger people. I actually have one of the girls that's going to come on the podcast with me is a girl that I met in Honan when I worked at Honan in Wyoming, and her dad knew about me because he was a customer, I believe, of Honan Equipment, and he drove all the way from Colorado all the way up into Cheyenne, Wyoming, to bring his daughter to meet me, to talk to me, because she wanted to be a mechanic, and she had some social media stuff she was doing, and he really wanted her to talk to me because he knew, she does the social media, and she's a mechanic, and she's competent, and she's successful, and according to her bosses, she does good work. And this is, so she came up and we talked for probably an hour and a half about that. And she's going to be on this podcast season with me. I think she's one of the first, actually, and she's still 17, I think.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm trying to get across the audience here, right? Is there's talent everywhere. And literally, I mean, people that are on the audio don't see you right now on camera. The people that do know. I mean, you're not like super huge, but you're in a hard industry, right? Like there's heavy stuff out there that you have to lift. I could imagine when you tell people like I'm a diesel tech, they're like, yeah, whatever, sure you are. What do you really do, right? Like it's got to be a little bit of that stigma in the industry.
The guys that work in the industry and the people that are actually heavy equipment mechanics are like, the button on the crane works great. They get it, because most of that stuff is so big that my boyfriend that's 250 pounds of muscle ain't lifting that. Yeah. You don't need to be big. There's so many ways around things, especially lifting stuff. And in the heavy equipment industry, almost everything you fucking take off is gonna need a crane. Yeah. Or, there's been times where like, the water pumps on really old loaders are like this big. Or some of the like older 9,000 series tractors are like this fucking big, and they're fucking, it's like an awkward thing.
Yeah, weird angle. Yeah.
But I have done a lot of work with ratchet straps and pry bars. And, you know, there's also nothing wrong with asking for help.
Well, there was that one comment. I mean, I tagged you on LinkedIn. A guy was like, oh, it's heavier stuff. Like he was going from auto to heavy duty. He's like, oh, it's bigger stuff. I don't know if I can do it. And you made the comment like you just said, well, you work smarter, right? The straps, the cranes, all the things that you need to do that. So I think that's what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be about just sharing the stories of diesel technicians. You just named one that she's not even a professional diesel tech. She's going to be a diesel tech or wants to be. And that's been the interesting to me as I've started to reach out to people I know that are diesel techs. I mean, we have someone here at Diesel Laptops who is a diesel tech in Antarctica. Like, you want to hear a story about how just different things, right? I mean, we have diesel techs in Saudi Arabia. We got diesel techs on the other side of the world in Australia. I've been up in the Yukon and seen what goes on the scene of the gold rush with those technicians, with Juan Ibarra. We got Nathan Clark, who is on Gold Rush. Yeah. We just
Mitch is badass too.
Yeah. Mitch Blasky. Yeah, like all these guys, right? But it's what's exciting to me is, it's a profession, but there's so many different ways you can choose to use this profession to do whatever you want with your life and provide a great income for yourself, your family, the security, all those things that come down. So I'm really excited. This is gonna be fun. We're gonna have brand new people. We're gonna have experienced people all over the world. I think I got some people from Africa that we're gonna be talking to. So I think the story that people hear, there's gonna be some resounding themes that go along with this. I'm sure the podcast will mold and meld and change as time goes on here. But this is what the industry needs. It needs to know that this field exists. It is a fun field. It is a very lucrative field, a stable field. Forget what all the hype is about EVs. Diesel's going to be around for a very, very long time before both of us turn to stone, right? So I'm excited. I'm really excited. So
I'm excited too.
Yeah. So like the question's been like, my big question when I first started talking to you was like, can you do a podcast? Can you do interviews? So how's it been going? Like learning how to do interviews and podcasts and all these things.
It's been interesting because obviously, like, people that have seen my content on TikTok and Instagram, I just wing everything. And I'm like, take it or leave it. This is what I'm doing. And if you like it, great. If not, can't please everybody. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve because I have to plan for things, right? And I've got to have my shit together. I've been interviewed a lot, where somebody else is leading it. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to try and figure out how to lead the conversations and not have dead space and not, figure out how to. I think most of these people will be okay for the most part, especially if they're diesel mechanics. I can talk to mechanics all day. I've been doing it for 7 years. Yeah. So I think we'll be okay, but it's been, the technology part of it has also been challenging. I'm a little technology challenged, but I think it'll be fun and I'm looking forward to it. So, and I think it'll shed some light on, it's also gives me a way to answer all these questions that other people have. And especially when I get young people, like the lady that's going to be coming on who's not even graduated high school yet and wants to be a mechanic. She has so many good fucking questions that so many people, especially girls, have for me.
Yeah.
And I don't get the chance to answer all of them. I don't. Not only am I trying to run a business online, but I also, I work for you and I've got a lot going on. So this is giving me the opportunity as well to answer these questions. And it's also giving me the opportunity to bring on seasoned people so the younger generation can see, like, hey, look, they've been doing this for how many years, and they're not the typical mechanic meme jokes of I'm 25 going on 80, they look like normal people. They don't look like they're beat to hell like most people think you are. So I think it'll be a good mix between seasoned people and, young people that haven't joined, because I want to share that it doesn't even matter how old you are. You can start the industry. You learn new shit every day. You're never going to know all of it. Yeah. The industry is a constant learning curve, especially with technology. It's a constant learning. So it's never too late to start in, because you're not really going to miss out on anything, because all the new shit you're learning now is the same shit that the old seasoned mechanic is having to learn too. So
Yeah.
And it's a very supportive business or an industry to be in. So, most people are more than happy to help.
So when I was a service manager, this is back in like the 04, 05, 06 days, in that area. I remember a couple guys like this. So 04 was the first year like emissions really took a thing with EGR systems on commercial trucks.
With over the road.
Yeah. And things started to get more complicated and, more computers and more sensors and multiplex wiring, and things were a lot more simple before that. So I remember I had a couple guys where they were near the end of their career and they were just not going to work on the new stuff. They just were like, I'm too old. I don't want to learn it. I can't learn it. It's too confusing. Just let me keep overhauling DT466 engines and doing clutch jobs. Like that was what they wanted to do. And it was fine. I was like, I get it. Like, I mean, you're at the end of your career. Like, the world's changing. And I mean, that's added so much complexity to everything we do. I mean, obviously we're Diesel laptops. We sell a lot of diagnostic tools all over the world because these things got complicated. And people are just thirsting for knowledge and resources and all these things. And I can wrap this all up in a bow and say, people are like, well, why did you do this, Tyler? Why are we doing a podcast? Podcasts cost money, they cost time, they cost all these things. I'm like, look, it's going to do three things. One, for Diesel laptops, it's going to help build my brand. Two, for Melissa, Diesel Queen, it's going to help build her brand and the things she's doing as well in her career. And three, our industry needs the help. It needs voices. It needs people talking and speaking about these things. And I think it's gonna be a great platform. I'm excited to do what you do on social media, partner that up with Diesel Laptops reputation and marketing in our space. I think we're gonna have a pretty cool thing here. And I think we're gonna be sitting here a year from now being like, man, this podcast is absolutely insane. Like, what are we doing next? And all these things that are gonna happen. So I just want to say I appreciate you taking a leap of faith with me. I mean, I know this is different than anything you've ever done before. But
leaving the industry was a rough decision. But I did a lot of thought, and it's like, I'm not. Like, the industry might be losing a full-time mechanic by me leaving. And, I put 7 years into John Deere. I got capstones out the fucking ass. But me staying in that industry is not helping the industry get people. And like you and I have discussed before, a few years ago when we were going to do this, and I decided not to at the time, was, I don't have the time. When you're working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, or even 10-hour days, 5 days a week, it is hard to find the time to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I made the decision, and I decided, like, I believe in what you're trying to do, and I believe in what your vision is and you're trying to do. And it also matches what I've been trying to do with my content online too. And finally, I'm given the opportunity to follow that path of trying to open the industry up to people that don't even know that they want to be in this industry and help the industry grow. Because like you said, it has been a decline of mechanics. Yeah. And it keeps getting worse. It's worse and worse and worse.
So I want to go back to one of the things for the audience that you just said there, Melissa. And that was, so she's right. I interviewed her like a year and a half ago. And right after I called her, I'm like, hey, you should come work for me, do a podcast. And she totally rejected me. Totally was like, no, I'm going to go do this other thing. And that was the right decision at the time. But what I want people to know is where did this all start? It started on social media. It started with me finding Melissa on there, invite her a podcast. That's why I do podcasts, to build networks and build opportunities and create doors so that we can choose to open the doors and choose to do these things. And that's what this is all really about at the heart of it, is creating opportunity in our industry, for me, for Melissa, for all these people. So I think it's going to be an exciting thing. And I think we at least got to say, like, we've been swearing on here. Like, I got a podcast. I don't swear on there. This one's going to be a little bit different. This one,
well,
you're a diesel tech.
You have a podcast with a diesel mechanic, and we use fuck like a comma, so it's
man,
no
later
one's gonna believe that I'm a mechanic if I like channel my inner good mouth and not say fuck. All my followers know me, so they're gonna be like, is this Melissa or is this a robot Melissa? Because I have not heard the F-bomb yet. So
yeah, and by the way, it's been hilarious to watch you squirm a couple times with like HR meetings or whatever, like, and that's crap. You can tell, but it's cool. Like we know what it is, right?
I got a little message about using the word fuck in the group chat. So
yeah, I think that was like day one of the Slack channel. Like that we got Melissa on.
Like, you can't cuss on the Slack channel. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, save it for the podcast and YouTube, right? So, no, this is gonna be a lot of fun, and I know we're gonna start getting some episodes out there, and it's gonna be a great time. So again, thanks for putting this together and taking the leap of faith with us.
Well, thanks for the opportunities. I'll do the best I can.
Hey, that's all anyone
try.
That's all anyone can ask. I remember watching some of my original episodes. I'm like, man, I was horrible. I was nervous. I was saying all the time. I wasn't clear with my thoughts. All that stuff. It just for people listening to us that are afraid to do their own podcast or get on videos or do social media like the Diesel Queen here. It just takes time. It takes practice. Like I remember watching Mr. Beast, popular YouTuber. Go watch his first video. You will be like, how the heck did that guy get from that video to 100 million subscribers? It's mind blowing, but you stay at it.
My
you get
first
better.
TikTok videos and Instagram videos and stuff like that, I'm just like, ooh, this is cringe. What's so horrible?
Well, cool, Melissa. Well, I think we explained it pretty clearly here and everything. Any last parting words?
I'm excited to do this, and I'm excited to share the industry from other people's perspectives too, not just mine, and get the word out that this industry is not some evil, like horrible, I'm going to be rolling around in grease all day. It doesn't have to be like that if you don't work messy. But the main point is it's not like this dirty, nasty, grungy, shitty job that people have made it out to be. Like, yeah, you got to get dirt on your hands sometimes, and yeah, you get it messy sometimes, but it's actually a fairly high reputation job right now. It is a very well-respected industry, and I want people to feel confident in their decision of going into this, that like they're not less of a person because they want to be in a trade.
Yeah.
They're not losing out on anything. They're not missing opportunities in college. College is good for some people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some people, it's great.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of people out there that, like, if you don't know what you want to do, don't waste money going to college. Get an internship, or you try trades, do something to figure out what you want to do, and maybe you'll fall in love with the trade and make it a career.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's definitely not good for the half the people that fail out, right, and don't finish, and the other half that do finish and never use their degree. So we all know those people too.
I have a lot of friends that have degrees that never used them.
Yeah, yeah. Just I always tell people, look. I know a lot of dumb people that graduated with a 4-year degree. Just because you get a 4-year degree doesn't mean you're smart and you're going to go make a bunch of money. Like that's not the way the world works, right? So,
well, it's and this is actually I was going to say this earlier about the college thing is. The trades, there are way more jobs than there are people to fill them. And you kind of touched on this with like, you can find a job anywhere. I could work for you for 10 years. And if I decided to go back and work in a shop, even though I've been out of it for 10 years, I could get a job tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
And there's something to be said about that, because you can always find another job in the city you're in. If you're not happy with the shop that you're in, you can, if you move. I moved to Indiana without a job.
Yeah.
And I found one. No problem.
Yeah, you don't have to worry, right?
It wasn't a problem. But with college, there's a lot of degrees and a lot of college spaces where there's way more people going into the industry than there are jobs available. And that's when people have, they did really good in college and they passed all their classes and they're ready to work, and then there's no jobs.
Yeah.
So at least a trade, there's always going to be a job anywhere.
100%. So you have no idea how excited I am to get this thing out there and into the world and start this ball rolling. I know we're gonna get you at a couple trade shows this coming year as well, and get out in the field and do all those things. I know we've talked about. I know we said not being a diesel tech anymore, but I can tell the audience, me and you've been talking about a special YouTube series and doing some stuff there as well. And I know we got some sponsors and everything coming to help us as well, SB Tools and some others. So yeah, no, it's going to be exciting times. A lot of new things in 2023 for diesel laptops, including Overhauled with the Diesel Queen. So people will find us right on the website, diesellaptops.com. I don't know if you got any closing words or signing off, or if we've been that far into the thought process yet, but how do you want to close this out here?
Well, I guess my closing words are that I'm looking forward to interviewing all these people. I'm looking forward to doing this podcast. I think it'll be fun. Everybody knows I have a great sense of humor and I can talk shop. So I think it'll be entertaining as well as educational. And thank you for the opportunity for doing this. So I appreciate it.